It was Thanksgiving afternoon, around 3:45, when my phone buzzed. My kids, Mia and Noah, were eating delivery pizza in our small apartment in suburban Florida, and I'd lit a lavender candle, trying to make the day feel less empty. The notification was from my sister, Jessica, in her private family group on Facebook. I clicked it open. The photo showed them all. Mom sat at the head of the dining table, wearing that floral blouse I'd bought her last Christmas. Dad stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder, smiling wider than I'd seen him in months. Jessica's husband, Mark, was carving a turkey that looked professionally prepared. Their 3 kids wore matching sweaters. Aunt Carol raised a wine glass toward the camera. Uncle David had his arm around Grandma Eleanor, who clutched her signature pumpkin pie. Cousin Chloe and her new boyfriend sat close together, looking happy. 23 people filled the frame. The house itself looked immaculate. Golden afternoon light streamed through the bay windows, the ones I'd insisted on during the renovation 3 years ago. Someone had decorated with real fall leaves and elegant cream-colored candles. Fresh flowers sat in vases I recognized from my own abandoned storage unit. Mia looked up from her slice of pizza, a little pepperoni grease on her cheek. "Mom, are you okay?" I realized I'd been staring at my phone for several minutes without moving. The caption beneath the image read, "Family Thanksgiving." No drama. No disappointments. Grateful for everyone here. Everyone here. Meaning everyone except me. Everyone except my 2 children, 8 and 11, who sat eating delivery pizza because their mother hadn't been invited to the family gathering. Who, in fact, had received no phone call, no text message, no explanation about why this year would be different from every other year of our lives. Noah reached for another slice. "Can we watch a movie after this?" "Sure, sweetie." My voice came out steady, despite the anger coiling in my chest. "Whatever you want." I clicked the like button on Jessica's post. Then I typed a comment, my fingers moving faster than my rational brain could intervene. "Beautiful. By the way, the house you're in? I own it. Enjoy your Thanksgiving there. Selling it December 2nd. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. The house in that photo belonged to me, legally, completely without question. I'd purchased it 4 years ago when the previous owners faced foreclosure. The mortgage was in my name alone. Every property tax bill came addressed to me. When the roof needed replacing last spring, I'd paid for it. When the furnace died 2 winters back, I'd handled it. But my family didn't know that. 4 years ago, Jessica had approached me in tears. She and Mark desperately wanted to buy a house. Their lease was ending. They'd found the perfect place in a good school district. The problem was their credit. Mark's medical bills from his accident had destroyed their score. Banks wouldn't touch them. Private lenders wanted interest rates that would bankrupt them within a year. Jessica begged me for help. She promised they'd pay me back. Promised this was temporary. Promised the paperwork would transfer to their names once Mark's credit recovered. She showed me plans for the kids' rooms, talked about family dinners, described the vegetable garden she wanted to plant. Against my better judgment, I agreed. I bought the house outright, using my savings and a portion of my inheritance from Grandpa Thomas. The purchase price was $340,000. I put down $120,000 and took a mortgage for the rest. Jessica and Mark moved in immediately, paying me rent that exactly covered my monthly mortgage payment plus insurance. The agreement was simple: they'd live there for 3 years while rebuilding their credit, then refinance the house into their own names. I kept the arrangement quiet from the rest of the family because Jessica worried about judgment. Dad had strong opinions about financial responsibility. Mom would have lectured Mark about planning ahead. It was easier to let everyone assume the young couple had saved and sacrificed and achieved homeownership through their own efforts. Except, 3 years passed with no mention of refinancing. Then 4. Their credit had reportedly improved, but somehow the timing was never right. Mark got a new job and didn't want to risk changing anything during his probation period. Then Jessica's hours got cut. Then one of the kids needed expensive tutoring. Always another reason, another delay. Another month of me carrying a mortgage on a house I didn't live in, while paying rent on my own apartment. The rent they paid me hadn't increased in 4 years, despite property taxes going up. My mortgage payment had actually increased when interest rates shifted, but I'd absorbed the difference rather than create conflict. Family came first, Jessica reminded me whenever I raised questions about the timeline. I'd reminded her of our agreement 6 months ago during a phone call that went nowhere. She'd gotten defensive, accused me of being mercenary, suggested I didn't understand how hard they were working to get everything perfect before taking over the mortgage. The call ended with her hanging up on me. We hadn't spoken directly since then. Communication happened through Mom, who relayed messages with increasing frustration about why her daughters couldn't just get along. I tried to explain the situation, but Jessica had apparently given Mom a version where I was the unreasonable one, pressuring them about technicalities when they'd been nothing but reliable tenants. The comments started appearing under my post within seconds. "Jessica, what are you talking about?" "Mom, Sarah, what is this?" "Uncle David, is this a joke?" "Aunt Carol, this isn't funny." I didn't respond. I sat my phone face down on the coffee table and turned my attention back to my kids, who'd moved on to discussing which movie they wanted. Noah was advocating for an action film while Mia pushed for animation. Normal sibling negotiation, unaware that I'd just detonated a bomb in the middle of our extended family's holiday. My phone started buzzing. I ignored it. The kids decided on a compromise, some adventure comedy they'd both been wanting to see. I queued it up on our small television and settled between them on the couch, trying to focus on the opening credits instead of the continuous vibration coming from my phone. The movie was 20 minutes in when Noah paused it. "Mom, your phone won't stop." I picked it up. 97 missed calls. The number was still climbing. Text messages flooded in faster than I could read them. My email inbox showed new messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. I opened the Facebook app. Jessica's post had vanished. Deleted. But the chaos it had unleashed was just beginning. Jessica's name appeared on my screen. I answered. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Her voice came through, shrill and furious. "You just humiliated me in front of everyone on Thanksgiving." I stated a fact. My voice stayed calm, which seemed to enrage her further. "That's our house. We've lived here for 4 years. It's my house, that I own, that you've been promising to buy from me since day one. We had an agreement. We're working on it. For years." "Jessica. For years of working on it. How much longer until you're ready? 5 years? 10? Background noise came through the line. People talking urgently. Mom's voice rising above the others. Jessica must have stepped away, because the sounds faded. "You can't just sell the house out from under us," Jessica said. "We have kids. Where are we supposed to go? You've had 4 years to plan for this moment. You've known the house wasn't yours. You've known we had an arrangement that was supposed to be temporary. Instead of honoring that, you cut me out of Thanksgiving and posted about your perfect, drama-free family in a house you don't own. Mom said you were being difficult lately. We didn't want the day ruined." Something cold settled in my stomach. "Mom knew you weren't inviting me?" Silence stretched between us. "Did everyone know?" I pressed. "Was it a group decision to exclude me and my children from Thanksgiving?" "It wasn't like that. It's just, things have been tense with you lately, and Mark's parents were coming, and we wanted everything to be nice, and you've been so pushy about the house situation, and nobody wanted to deal with conflict on a holiday. So, yes. Everyone knew. Everyone had agreed. My entire family had gathered for Thanksgiving and deliberately chosen to celebrate without me while posting about it publicly. They'd made that choice in the house I owned, eating food prepared in the kitchen I'd made possible, sitting in rooms I paid property taxes on. December 2nd, I said. I'm listing it with a realtor. You have until closing to find somewhere else to live. I'll give you first right of refusal if you want to actually buy it, but I need a firm commitment and proof of financing by December 10th, otherwise, it goes on the open market. You can't do this. I absolutely can. Check the deed if you don't believe me. Check the mortgage records. Check the property tax bills. I've been patient for 4 years. I'm done. I ended the call. My phone immediately started ringing again. Mom, this time. I declined it. Then Dad. Declined. Uncle David, Aunt Carol, Cousin Chloe. I declined them all and turned off my phone completely. Movie? Noah asked hopefully. Movie, I agreed. We made it through the rest of the film, though I couldn't have summarized the plot if my life depended on it. My mind kept circling back to that photograph, all those smiling faces, that caption about drama and disappointments, the casual cruelty of excluding someone and then advertising it. The assumption that I'd see it and simply accept my dismissal from the family without consequence. They'd miscalculated badly. After the kids went to bed, I turned my phone back on. 347 notifications waited. I ignored all of them and opened my contacts list. Scroll to see Ben Carter, my attorney. We'd worked together on several real estate transactions over the years. I sent him a text explaining the situation and asking for a meeting first thing Monday morning. His response came within minutes. I'm at my sister's for the holiday, but I can do Saturday morning if it's urgent. This sounds legally straightforward, but emotionally complicated. Do you want to proceed? I typed back, yes, Saturday works, and it's only emotionally complicated for them. The weekend that followed tested every boundary I'd ever tried to maintain. Jessica called 60 times Saturday morning alone. Mom showed up at my apartment Saturday afternoon, standing in the hallway and knocking until my neighbor threatened to call building security. I didn't answer. I could hear her through the door, alternating between pleading and accusations. This is family, Sarah. How can you do this to your sister? Those children will be traumatized. Your father is beside himself. We raised you better than this. I sat on my couch with noise-canceling headphones and worked through emails. When Mom finally left, I checked the peephole to make sure the coast was clear before taking the kids to the park. We spent the afternoon at the playground, feeding ducks at the pond, getting ice cream despite the November chill. Noah and Mia seemed to sense something was wrong, but didn't push. They'd learned young that sometimes Mom needed space. Ben met me at his office Saturday at 10. His building was mostly empty for the holiday weekend, our footsteps echoing in the lobby. He brought coffee and pastries, settling across from me with a comfortable professionalism I appreciated. Walk me through everything, he said. I laid out the timeline, the initial purchase, the verbal agreement, the broken promises, the rent arrangement, the mounting frustration, the family dynamics. I showed him the deed, the mortgage statements, the property tax records. Everything documented my sole ownership. Ben reviewed the papers carefully. This is clean. You're the owner. Full stop. They're essentially tenants. You have every right to terminate the rental arrangement with appropriate notice. Standard tenant rights in the state require 30 days for month-to-month tenancies, which you've exceeded by giving them until closing. They're claiming we had an agreement. Verbal agreements about future property transfers are notoriously difficult to enforce, especially over this timeline. Did you sign anything promising to transfer the house? Nothing in writing. Then legally, you're solid. Ethically, morally, those are different questions, but the law is clear. He paused. The bigger question is what you actually want here. Is this about the money? Getting the property back? Making a point? I considered his question carefully. It's about being taken for granted. I helped my sister when she needed it, and she responded by treating my generosity like an entitlement. She kept me out of family events and convinced everyone I was the problem. Then she had the audacity to post about it publicly, from my house. I want her to understand there are consequences. And if she comes up with financing, actually buys the house, then I'll sell it to her at current market value, which is probably $480,000 based on comparable sales in the neighborhood. She'll pay what it's worth, not what I paid for years ago. Ben nodded. That's fair. You've essentially given her a free $140,000 in equity appreciation by holding the property. I'll draw up a formal notice and listing agreement. I know several excellent realtors. If you don't have someone in mind, I want someone aggressive. Someone who markets properly and gets multiple offers. I'll make some calls. Ben leaned back in his chair, studying me with the kind of directness that made him excellent at his job. I need to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before answering. Are you prepared for the complete breakdown of family relationships? Because that's where this is heading. The question settled between us like something heavy and unmovable. I sipped my coffee, buying time to formulate an honest answer. They already broke down, I said finally. I just didn't notice because I was too busy trying to hold everything together. You don't exclude someone from Thanksgiving and then claim the relationship is intact. You don't borrow someone's financial stability for 4 years and then call them difficult when they ask for accountability. The breakdown already happened. I'm just acknowledging it. Fair enough. But once you push this forward, there's no walking it back. Your nieces and nephews will grow up with a version of events where you're the villain. Family weddings, funerals, graduations, every major event will be complicated by this. It's already complicated. At least this way, I'm not funding my own exclusion. Ben made a note on his legal pad. I had a case about 5 years back. Different circumstances, but similar family dynamics. Brother loaned his sister money for a business startup. She never paid him back. Always had excuses. He finally sued her, won the case, got a judgment, never collected a dime because she filed for bankruptcy. But the real cost was his relationship with his mother, who never forgave him for taking his sister to court. She passed away 3 years later. They never reconciled. Are you trying to talk me out of this? I'm making sure you understand the real price tag. Money you can calculate. Family relationships are harder to put a number on. I thought about Mom's voice through my apartment door. The desperation mixed with anger. I thought about Dad's disappointed tone on the phone. Aunt Carol's email about family values. The years of gatherings I'd probably miss. The milestones I wouldn't be invited to celebrate. Then I thought about that Thanksgiving photo again. The deliberate exclusion. The caption celebrating my absence. The assumption that I'd see it and simply accept my place outside the family circle. My mother stood outside my door and blamed me for defending myself, I said. Nobody asked why Jessica felt entitled to live in a house she didn't own for 4 years. Nobody questioned why she could afford boats and vacations but not a mortgage refinance. Nobody wondered why it was okay to exclude me from Thanksgiving. The relationships you're warning me about, they're conditional on me accepting whatever treatment gets handed to me. That's not family. That's just people who've gotten comfortable with me being the one who always bends. Ben nodded slowly. Then we proceed. But I want you to have one out, just in case you change your mind in the next 48 hours. I'll draft everything, but I won't file or serve papers until Monday afternoon. That gives you the weekend to sit with this decision. If you wake up Sunday and decide reconciliation matters more than principle, you can still walk away. I won't change my mind. Probably not, but humor me. Big decisions benefit from sleep and distance. Take your kids somewhere tomorrow. Do something normal. See how it feels knowing what you're about to set in motion. I agreed, though I knew my position wouldn't shift. Some decisions feel inevitable even before you make them. Like you've been moving toward them for years without realizing it. This was one of those. Sunday morning arrived, cold and bright. I took Noah and Mia to the Science Museum, something we'd been planning before Thanksgiving derailed everything. We spent hours in the exhibits, Mia fascinated by the physics demonstrations, while Noah gravitated toward the natural history wing. Ordinary parent things, weekends that looked like everyone else's weekends. At lunch in the museum cafe, Noah asked, "Are you still mad at Aunt Jessica?" Kids always knew when to ask the questions adults tried to avoid. "It's complicated," I started, then stopped. They deserved better than deflection. "Yes, I'm still upset. Aunt Jessica made choices that hurt me, and now there are consequences for those choices. Sometimes that's how things work." Mia picked at her sandwich. "Emma's parents got divorced last year. She said everyone told her it wasn't her fault, but it still felt bad. This isn't quite the same, but I understand what you mean. Sometimes adults have conflicts that kids get caught in the middle of, and that's not fair to the kids." "Are we caught in the middle?" Noah asked. Honest question, deserving an honest answer. "A little bit. Yes. But here's what I want you to know. None of this is your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. And no matter what happens with Jessica or Grandma or anyone else, you two are my priority, always." We finished lunch and spent another hour at the museum before heading home. The day felt normal in the way Ben had suggested, but it didn't change my mind. If anything, being with my kids reinforced why boundaries mattered. They were watching how I let people treat me. They were learning from my example whether family relationships required accepting mistreatment to maintain peace. Sunday evening, I texted Ben, "No change. Proceed Monday as planned." His response came quickly. "Understood. Papers will be served by noon tomorrow. Expect immediate reaction." By Sunday evening, the legal paperwork was drafted, notice of intent to sell, offering Jessica first right of refusal at fair market value, with proof of financing required within 10 days. Failure to provide adequate proof would result in the property being listed publicly. Ben had included a firm closing timeline and detailed move-out requirements. I had the documents hand-delivered to Jessica's address Monday morning. My phone exploded again around 9 a.m. This time, it was Dad calling. "Sarah, we need to talk." "Hello, Dad. Your mother is distraught. Your sister is having panic attacks. This has gone far enough." "I agree. It should have ended 3.5 years ago when Jessica was supposed to refinance. Instead, it went on because everyone assumed I'd be endlessly patient. She's your sister. Family helps family. I did help. I helped so much. I put my own financial stability at risk. I'm still paying off that mortgage while also paying my own rent. Do you know how much that's cost me? Do you know how many opportunities I've passed up because my money was tied up in her house? So, this is about money. It's about respect. It's about keeping promises. It's about not excluding people from family holidays and then bragging about it." Dad's voice hardened. "Your mother didn't want conflict at Thanksgiving." Jessica explained, "You've been difficult lately." "Difficult? How?" "By expecting my sister to honor our agreement? By being inflexible when she's clearly struggling?" "She's not struggling, Dad. Have you seen that house? The renovations they've done? The furniture they've bought? Jessica drives a car newer than mine. Mark just bought a boat. They took the kids to Disney World last summer. They're not struggling. They're thriving in a house they never intended to buy from me. Silence on the other end. They bought a boat? Dad finally asked. Talk to Jessica. Ask her to show you the boat Mark parks at the marina. Ask her how Disney World was. Ask her why she could afford all of that, but couldn't save for a down payment to refinance the house she's been living in. I ended the call. Tuesday morning, Ben called. I'm getting pushback from an attorney representing your sister. Claims there was a verbal contract with specific terms about transfer of ownership. Can you forward me any documentation of your original discussions? I sent him everything, emails from 4 years ago about the house search, text messages about the purchase agreement, records of Jessica's promised repayment schedule. Most importantly, I sent him the messages from 6 months ago where I tried to discuss the timeline and Jessica had deflected and eventually stopped responding. This is helpful, Ben said after reviewing. Their attorney is grasping. The messages clearly show you trying to move forward with the original plan and your sister avoiding the conversation. Plus, the timeline they're claiming doesn't match reality. They're saying you agreed to a 5-year transfer period. Your messages show it was supposed to be 3 years maximum. Can they stop the sale? They can make noise, but no. You own the property. You have the right to sell. The worst they could do is sue you after the fact, and they'd lose badly. Wednesday brought the first crack in Jessica's facade. Mom called, sounding exhausted. Your father talked to Mark about the boat. I waited. Jessica says it's a small boat. Nothing extravagant. They needed family recreation while living rent-stabilized in a house they promised to buy. Mom sighed. Sarah, please. Can we find a compromise? Jessica is willing to commit to a refinancing timeline now. 6 more months to get everything arranged. I've heard that before. The deadline is December 10th for proof of financing. After that, the house lists publicly. You're being unreasonable. I'm being consistent. The unreasonable thing was letting this go on for 4 years. Mom hung up on me. Thursday afternoon, I received an email from a mortgage broker. Jessica had apparently started the loan application process. The broker was requesting documentation of the rental arrangement and the original purchase terms. I forwarded everything to Ben, who confirmed this was a positive development. If she's serious about getting financing, this is her jumping through the right hoops. Of course, she's cutting it close. Getting approved in closing before December 2nd is ambitious. She has until closing to buy it. If it lists and gets an offer, she can still match or beat that offer. True, but market listing puts pressure on her to move fast. Friday, December 1st, arrived with no word from Jessica. I contacted the realtor Ben had recommended, a sharp woman named Monica Realiz, who specialized in competitive markets. She came to view the property Saturday morning. Jessica and Mark were home. The encounter was glacially polite. Monica walked through every room, taking photos and notes. The house looked immaculate. Whatever else could be said about Jessica, she maintained the property beautifully. The hardwood floors gleamed. The kitchen showed careful upkeep. Even the yard looked professionally maintained. This will sell fast, Monica told me outside. Great location, excellent condition, desirable school district. I'd price it at $485,000 and expect multiple offers within a week. Listed Monday morning if I don't have proof of financing from my sister by end of business tomorrow. Sunday evening came and went with no documentation from Jessica. I called Monica at 8 a.m. Monday morning. List it. The property went live on every major real estate platform by noon. Monica had staged it beautifully in the photos, highlighting the natural light, the renovated kitchen, the finished basement, the spacious backyard. The listing described it as a rare opportunity in a sought-after neighborhood. Showing requests started within hours. Jessica called me, screaming. "You actually listed it. You listed our house." "My house?" "I listed my house. We're still working on financing. The broker said it would take 2 weeks minimum. You had 4 years. You had 10 days warning. You cut it close. That's on you. There are people coming to tour our home while we're living here. While my kids are here. Then keep it clean and presentable. Monica says the condition is excellent. That will help it sell quickly. I hate you. Do you understand? I actually hate you. And I'm tired of being used." Guess we're both dealing with unpleasant emotions. The first offer came Wednesday. A young couple with pre-approved financing, offering $490,000 with a quick close. Monica called me with barely contained excitement. "This is fantastic. They're motivated buyers. Solid approval. Minimal contingencies. Get Jessica 24 hours to match or beat it." Monica sent formal notice to Jessica. The clock started ticking. Thursday at 11 a.m., Jessica's attorney sent a counteroffer for $195,000, contingent on 90-day financing approval for Jessica and Mark. I rejected it immediately. 30 days maximum for contingencies. And I need proof they can actually get approved, not just an application in progress. By Thursday evening, their attorney sent updated terms, $500,000, 45-day contingency. They included a pre-qualification letter from a mortgage broker indicating likely approval pending final documentation. I consulted with Ben. This is getting real. They might actually come through, or they're bluffing to freeze the sale while they figure something out. The pre-qualification isn't a guarantee. Counter-offer $505,000, 30-day contingency. Non-refundable $10,000 earnest money deposit due within 48 hours. If financing falls through, I keep the deposit. Their attorney pushed back hard. Too aggressive, too risky, unreasonable timeline. I didn't budge. Friday afternoon, they agreed. The deposit hit escrow Saturday morning. The following weeks moved with surprising efficiency. Jessica and Mark scrambled through the approval process while Monica managed a backup offer list that had grown to 8 interested buyers. Every few days, their attorney would request an extension or adjustment. Every time, Ben and I held firm on the original terms. My family continued their campaign of pressure. Aunt Carol sent a long email about family values and forgiveness. Uncle David called to tell me I was making a mistake I'd regret forever. Cousin Chloe posted vague Facebook updates about betrayal and cruelty that were obviously directed at me. I ignored all of it. Mom tried one final intervention 3 weeks into the process. She appeared at my office during lunch, cornering me in the parking lot. "You've made your point," she said. "Jessica understands she took advantage. She's apologized. She's doing everything you asked. Can't you just let her have the house for what you paid? Help your sister one more time?" She hasn't apologized to me. Not directly. Not sincerely. She's proud. You know how she is. Then she can be proud in a house she pays fair market value for. Or she can be proud somewhere else. When did you become so cold? The question hit harder than Mom probably intended. When had I become willing to draw these lines, to enforce these boundaries? Maybe when I'd seen that Thanksgiving photo. Maybe when I'd realized my entire family viewed my generosity as weakness to exploit. Maybe when I understood that being endlessly accommodating had earned me nothing but exclusion and contempt. "I'm not cold," I said quietly. "I'm just done being taken for granted." Mom left without another word. The closing was scheduled for January 15th. Jessica and Mark's financing came through 3 days before. Approved at the last possible moment. The final purchase price was $505,000. After paying off my remaining mortgage balance, closing costs, and realtor fees, I walked away with roughly $290,000. I attended the closing. Jessica and Mark did not look at me once during the signing. Their attorney handled all communication. When the final papers were signed and the transaction complete, Jessica stood abruptly and walked out. Mark followed without a word. Monica shook my hand. Congratulations. This was one of the more eventful sales I've handled. Ben walked me to my car afterward. How do you feel? Lighter, I admitted. For years of weight just lifted. Any regrets? I thought about it carefully. No. I wish it hadn't been necessary. I wish my sister had kept her promises and my family hadn't chosen her comfort over my dignity. But I don't regret enforcing boundaries. Good, because they're probably going to hold this against you for a while. They've been holding me at arm's length anyway. At least now it's honest. The aftermath was predictably messy. Half the family stopped speaking to me entirely. The other half maintained distant, polite contact that felt worse than silence. Jessica blocked me on every platform. Mom sent occasional text messages, usually guilt-laden observations about how family used to mean something. But something unexpected happened, too. Dad called me 6 weeks after the closing. I owe you an apology. I almost dropped my phone. Your mother and I have been going through old photos, he continued. Pictures of you and Jessica growing up. There's this pattern I never noticed. Jessica would get into trouble, you'd cover for her. Jessica would want something, you'd help her get it. Jessica would create a problem, you'd solve it. We let that happen. We encouraged it by praising you for being the responsible one, while making excuses for her. Tears pricked my eyes unexpectedly. We taught her to take and you to give, Dad said. Then we got angry when you finally stopped. That wasn't fair. I'm sorry. Thank you, I managed. I'm not saying what you did was easy for anyone. But you weren't wrong. Jessica needed to face reality. We all did. That conversation didn't fix everything. Mom remained distant. Most of the extended family still viewed me as the villain. Holiday gatherings would probably be awkward for years. But Dad's acknowledgement mattered more than I'd expected. Someone finally saw the pattern. Someone finally recognized the cost of always being the one who accommodated. I took the money from the sale and did something I'd been putting off for 6 years. I made a down payment on my own house. Nothing extravagant, but mine. 3 bedrooms, small yard, quiet neighborhood. Noah and Mia each got their own room for the first time in their lives. We painted walls and planted flowers and built something that belonged to us. Noah asked me one evening while we were assembling furniture, "Are we ever going to see Aunt Jessica again?" "Maybe someday," I told him honestly. But not for a while. Because of Thanksgiving? Because of a lot of things that built up over a long time. Sometimes family members need space from each other. Do you miss her? I considered the question carefully. Did I miss my sister? The person who'd borrowed my generosity and never returned it? Who'd cut me out of family gatherings and convinced everyone I was the problem? Who'd fought me every step of the way rather than simply honor her word? I miss who I thought she was, I said finally. But that might have been someone I made up. 3 months after the closing, I received an unexpected text from a number I didn't recognize. The message contained a photo. Jessica, Mark, and their kids standing in front of my old house, their new house, holding a sign that read "Home Sweet Home." Below the image, "We made it work. No thanks to you." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I deleted it without responding. They'd made it work. Good for them. They owned the house now, legitimately, with their names on the deed and their mortgage to manage. They'd learned they couldn't coast on my patience forever. Maybe that lesson was worth the conflict. Or maybe I was just done carrying other people's weight. I looked around my living room at the home I'd bought with money I'd reclaimed from a situation that had drained me for years. Noah and Mia were doing homework at the kitchen table. Dinner was in the oven. Everything felt settled in a way it hadn't in longer than I could remember. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "This is Chloe." I wanted to say something without everyone else involved. "What you did took guts. Jessica is my cousin and I love her, but she was wrong. Uncle David won't admit it. Aunt Carol thinks family should forgive everything, but you weren't wrong. Just wanted you to know someone sees it." I typed back, "Thank you. That means a lot. Maybe coffee sometime without the family drama? I'd like that." Small steps, tiny movements towards something different. Not reconciliation exactly, but perhaps the beginning of relationships based on honesty instead of obligation. That Thanksgiving photo still existed somewhere. I suppose digital permanence meant it couldn't be truly deleted, just hidden. Somewhere in someone's phone or computer, that image of my family gathered without me probably still lived. The caption about no drama and no disappointments preserved in pixels. But I had my own photos now. Noah and Mia helping me paint the living room, both covered in coastal blue splatters. The three of us standing in our new yard, tired but smiling after planting the garden. Mia's birthday party in our dining room, her friends crowded around the table we picked out together. No captions about who was or wasn't included. No announcements about whose absence made the occasion better. Just simple documentation of a life being built honestly, without pretense, without using other people's generosity as a foundation. That was worth more than any performance of family unity. That was worth every difficult conversation, every boundary enforced, every relationship that couldn't survive honesty. I'd been excluded from Thanksgiving. They'd made that choice and advertised it publicly. So, I'd excluded them from continuing to exploit me. I'd made that choice and enforced it legally. In the end, both exclusions had consequences, but only one had been earned. What's a boundary you've had to draw that completely reshaped a relationship?